Oh, I got 5 foot here.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the show, Fall In. You are live now with the Triple Threat Vet Podcast. We come at you every Thursday at 7 p.m. Thank y'all for watching over on TikTok. All right, sorry we're starting a little bit late tonight. Had a few technical difficulties, but we'll get it going real quick. Want to give a shout out to all the people that watch the show all the time with the feedback and everything. Be sure and go to our YouTube channel, like, share, subscribe, and follow. We definitely want to thank our guest from last week, Steve Jimenez, United States Marine Corps veteran, and the creator and founder for Highs for Heroes. Just some of the stories that he was talking about with the veterans out there, getting something to do, getting out there, adventure therapy, all that kind of stuff. Really, really cool episode last week, episode number 145. You can catch our back catalog on iHeartRadio, Amazon, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. This is Vincent Rocco Vargas, U.S. Army Ranger, Border Patrol, Borchak Borstar, and he was our guest on episode 22. So go hit up Spotify, check some of our old catalog out. Got to give a shout out to Matt, who's got the night off. He's out with the family, but Got Your Six Culture, sameflagsameoath.com. Get over there and get your gear. Also, shout out to Ryan Miller, the winner of our ESPN pick 'em with the Triple Threat Vet crew. Ryan Miller, your stuff is in production. I know that he's got the shipping labels ready, so that should be out to you early next week. Becky Jo Art, shout out, check that out, doing wonderful things, very expressive, very creative. This is something that Matt Johnson wanted to talk about. Valor and Victory Fest going on Sunday, April 19th over in Puttery, Houston. This is just another example of how you can just get out there and meet your tribe. Bunch of veterans, like-minded, barbecue competitions and tasting, miniature golf, music entertainment, all kinds of good stuff going on out there. And then again, the Tunnels to Towers got their Texas Golf Hero Classic coming up on April 20th. Check us out. I think Matt and I are going to play in that at least. Might get some other people to go play with us. If you want to, donate, they still have sponsorship opportunities available, and we'll be very grateful for that. Some of them are sold out, but give a shout out to our guys over at Project Zero with the May 9th. They got their third crawfish throwdown going on. I'll definitely be there for that. Love some crawfish. This week, we have one of my former battalion commanders, Colonel, retired combat engineer Christopher Benson. We'll get to him in just a few minutes. I'll read a little bit of his words as his bio. Sometimes we like to switch it up. But we got Al Hero here today. We got Matt Johnson's out of ranks. But let me turn it over to Al Hero, see what he's got going on for the rant.
First of all, I am live tonight, not from my office. I'm actually in Pennsylvania for a work trip this week. So I'm coming to you live from Pennsylvania, which has been crazy because I was hoping for some like nice, cool weather up here in the Northeast. Nah, it's been 92, 91. It's been like, I might as well be back in Florida. So I clearly brought the weather with me. But tonight I want to just really touch on airport plane etiquette because I just flew through the airport. It wasn't bad. TSA's back to work, so my shit wasn't crazy. But I will say this. If I'm sitting in an airplane seat with headphones on, please don't talk to me. I'm purposely not trying to conversate. I'm trying to get a nap in case this plane crashes. I want to be well rested when I get to heaven. So if I'm sitting in it, I had a lady tap me on the shoulder and be like, hey, where are you coming from? Where are you flying to? I'm like, what are we doing? Like, please don't talk to me on an airplane if I got headphones in. If I don't have headphones in, it's fair game. But if I got headphones in and I'm vibing, I don't want to talk to you. If I want to talk to you, I'll look at you and be like, hey, how are you? Don't talk to me in a damn airport. If I'm on the plane, I'm always in the window seat, so I can lean up against the window and get some shut eye. on my flight. And I flew from Pensacola to Charlotte to Philadelphia, and every flight. And then, nothing against, smelly people. But if your ass is getting on an airplane, this thing called deodorant, use it. Both armpits. I had a guy reach up and adjust the damn vent to get some cold air, and he smelled like onions and corn chips and all that good shit. Please put deodorant on. Be respectful.
We lose you, Al.
Oh,
you're back. Go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah, I felt like we were in Iraq. I was like, damn, it smells like goats around here. I was like, man, where's the goat farm on the airplane? And it was a dude. It was a dude who smelled. He was from like Europe, so I get it. That's probably your culture. Like y'all don't wear deodorant in Australia or wherever the hell he was from, but they do make it, and I can ship you some from the States. If y'all don't have it there, I can ship you some Tussie. I can ship you some Old Spice. I can ship you all kinds of shit. Just hit me up. Hit up the email and say, I need deodorant. I will send you a stick of some good antiperspirant so you don't smell like a motherfucking goat.
Very nice.
It was bad, Ty.
Yeah.
And I did have a good weekend, though, man. I sent you the pictures. I went to Beer Fest. That was super cool.
Yeah, that was in the opening roll there. I
seen the
Matt's
pictures.
Crawfish, yeah.
I didn't know we were going to Beer Fest. We just went to a restaurant in shout out Ye Old Brothers Brewery in Holly, Florida. We were going to just have dinner, me and my wife. And I get there, there's all these tents and shit up. And I was like, what is this? She's like, oh, it's our Beer Fest. $15, all you can drink. Needless to say, Al Hero did not drive us home. April drove us home. I drank my weight in beer that day. And then I went home and used power tools to try to fix my boat. My wife was not a fan. I was pretty much like, I don't think it's a good idea. I was like, it's a drill. What's the worst that can happen? So I was able to get my trailer lights on my boat working. So we're one step closer to getting water ready, Ty.
Okay. So I'm following the timeline because you called me at some point, and I think you were still coherent, but
probably a little bit.
Yeah, this was a cool story. Like I put the Ye Old Brothers Brewery, but like we're gonna be doing some of that pretty soon at the Danny Dietz.
Yes, we are.
I gotta build up. I don't drink that much, so I gotta build up for my drinking when you come in town.
Well, if you're gonna drink with Tom Clark, you better build up for sure.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Tom can throw down, and he definitely doesn't miss a beat. Now, Jen's even better than him. Jen's ass, I've watched her. She drank with us at a bar. Tom Ball, we were at the VFW all together. She drank beer. I got up in the morning, was dying, bro. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna make this 13-hour drive back to Florida. It's miserable. I get over to like Jen's camper. She's up running around like chicken with her head cut off, cleaning up, getting shit ready. I was like, how the fuck is she breathing? Like she's a gangster, bro. So if you plan on drinking and you're going to Texas, you better get your fucking game up because they can throw down some beer in Texas.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. I got to travel tomorrow. I think we're on United going to New York City. I'm not looking forward to the smells that I'm going to encounter. Like I'm going to try and make it by the 9/11 memorial, and that'll be really cool.
It's game changer, bro. I went when I went to New York for work one time. Super cool. One of the coolest experiences ever was at 9/11 memorial. Like it's very, very somber, but it's very it's beautiful. They did a really good job with it. Like it's super cool. It's definitely a must see if you're going to New York. We did some other cool shit, man. We went and seen like the big ass bull in like the financial district and like pictures on top of the bull and like I rubbed his balls. It was super cool for luck. You know what I mean? But it was super, super cool, bro. Like it's a cool experience. Like it's one of those cities where like I've visited once. I'll never go back. Like I'm good. Like I don't ever want to go back because it's so crowded. Like there's just people, millions of people just walking everywhere. Like you're in like you're going to have to take like an edible, bro, because the crowds of people, it's insane. Like in any time of the day and night, it's just crowded. Now, food spectacular, some really cool bars that we popped into and had a couple old fashions and like we had a really good time. But bro, be ready. Your head on a swivel.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we're going there for a family funeral. Someone in my wife's family passed away, so we're going there for a funeral. But
sorry to hear that. Tell Sarah we love her.
Yeah, definitely will. I told Sarah, if we do anything, I'd like to go by the 9/11 memorial, and then I'd like to go have a drink in like a hole in the wall New York City pub. I actually hit up Drew Hernandez, and I tried to tell him a joke and it backfired. So I forgot to fucking ask him like if he knows any hole in the wall pubs right around the northwest corner of Manhattan.
No, bro, I'm gonna send you Larry Driscoll's. I'll send you Driscoll's number after the show.
Oh, there we go.
Hit him up because he had me like some sweet ass like old school mob bars like in Brooklyn.
Exactly.
Like, that's where he's from. So he'll tell you
my kind of bar, you know.
Yeah. So he'll get you some really cool locations to go to. So yeah, we'll hit up Larry before you go. I'll get you his number, man. Hit up Larry. There's some super cool, like low-key old school mob bars, and you still feel like the people in there might still be in the mafia. You're like, these motherfuckers, he's old as fuck, got 50 rings on his fingers, and he's got all these hot chicks around him. Like, this dude's probably still works in sanitation. You know what I'm saying?
Sanitation. No, I said a sanitarium.
Yeah, it works in sanitation.
but anyway, shout out to Gaddy. He was one of those second engineer combat signal soldiers. Like he had to put up with a very intense tie there for a couple months until we got everything squared away. But he ended up going back to 716th at Fort Campbell and having a great career. So shout out to you, Jonathan.
So Gaddy. I will say this time,
sorry you had to put up with me
as a CB who served in the CBs and was in that world. I have the utmost respect and love really for the Army Combat Engineer Corps. Like those guys, like the guys that are doing, you're doing a route clearance. Like you're a bad son of a bitch. Like you're literally going looking for some shit to blow up. Like you got them guys, their mission and what they do. Man, my hat's off to, and I know we've had a ton of MPs on this show. Shout out to my gate guards, Bob Mayer. Shout out to the gate guards, but you ain't combat engineers. That's where my heart's at, man. Those guys they have an awesome mission for one thing, and for two, they have the biggest balls of anybody in the military. Like they are the tip of the testicle spear.
Well, Colonel Benson was actually the battalion commander when I was with Second Engineers when that CB detachment built the entire fob in the middle of a goat field with us, along with our vertical and horizontal construction as well. But, we had combat engineers and they had all the other trades. They were just freaking phenomenal. Literally a goat field one day. And then before you know it, the CBs showed up and, I told you the well story with one of my soldiers looking up and then running and thinking there was incoming.
Yeah, right.
CBs are pretty awesome too. So let me just, let me read a little bit about this gentleman. Sometimes we read bios, sometimes I just like to hear their words. So this is something that he said on his LinkedIn actually, but it really rings true. He says he's passionate about leading and serving people, helping organizations achieve success and improving the communities in which he lives and works. He has a solid reputation for exercising good judgment, ethical decision-making, and being a team builder that improves the performance of individuals and organizations through trust, integrity, and humbleness, inclusion, empathy, and respect. These intangible characteristics set him apart and allow him to flourish at building and leading thriving communities. He's a high achieving executive with over 15 years of service as a retired U.S. Army colonel and civil servant for the federal government. He excels at leveraging organizational vision, mission, and results-focused priorities. Like what I remember from this gentleman was, of course, it was a new type unit, combat engineers, route clearance. They had just moved from another post and they were standing up at White Sands, and just the deliberateness, the matter of factness, the very straightforward, this is what I want. And then how do you achieve it? I think it was the best thing to happen for us. So without further ado, let's bring on our guest, Colonel Retired Christopher Benson. What's up, sir?
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me? All right. Well, if you can't hear us, just let me create a banner. This is going to be funny. Log off.
Here we go. Here we go with the technical difficulties. It happens.
Yeah.
Hey Ty, I can't hear anything. After you turn it over to Al for his.
Yeah. There we go. Boom.
Boom.
See? We
Look
just,
at you, bro, doing that calm shit. Like know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Sometimes when people use their cell phones, it happens on the So Smoking Gooder show too. Sometimes when people use their cell phones, it'll it'll stop hearing it whenever we play music or something. I have to figure that out, or we got to move to a better platform.
Yeah,
But anyway, what do you think about Matt not being here tonight? I know you want to. Yeah.
So I think Matt's a punk, and I think he's soft as baby shit. He's weak. He's got a baby spine. He's got no. He is not the tip of the testicular spear. He is definitely not, because there's no. He told me he was going to be on. He didn't have anything going on, and then he does. I'm on here, and I've got shit going on. I've got to pack up my suitcase still. I got to get on and go to the airport in the morning. Like, I'm here. Matt, where you at? You're UA. That's what you are. You're unauthorized.
Yeah, I called him out of ranks. That's why I called fall in. Got to start doing paperwork sometimes. That's what you got to do with these soldiers.
He's missing formation. He's missing movement.
Right.
We're going to give him counseling when he gets back.
Yeah.
Now,
shout out to Jen Lee.
Doing good.
Shout out Jen Lee.
Doing good.
Beth Harris is in the house from Columbus, Georgia.
Hey,
I think we got him back real quick, so let's bring on Chris Benson.
Hey, sorry about that. I guess I needed to log back in because I was not hearing you since once you turned it over to Al for his rant, I lost all volume.
You got lucky, sir. You didn't want to hear that shit anyway.
But he did say glowing things about combat engineers in the Army.
Yeah, I did say that you guys are the tip of the testicular spear. You guys are like legit badasses. Like combat engineers, like when you guys are doing route clearance, like that's crazy. Like we're running, not looking for IEDs. You're like, we're going to find them all. Like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah. I don't know if you heard the story, but I was telling him you were our battalion commander when the CBs were with us, and basically we built a FOB out in the middle of a goat field in northern economy of force Afghanistan.
Out of nowhere, a kid just popped up. Yeah, there's a lot of work to get that done, but the CBs did awesome.
Yeah. Well, sir, welcome to the show. We appreciate you coming on. Like I said, you were my battalion commander, 2nd Engineer Battalion. I'm sure we'll tell some stories there. But we always like to start with where you grew up. Where did you grow up? What was family life like? Do you have siblings? And what went on there, sir?
Okay, yeah, I've led a fantastic life, to be honest with you. I grew up in Ames, Iowa, which is a university town, Iowa State University. We lived about a mile from campus. My mom and dad, and my older brother and older sister. And so, just growing up, it was a smaller town, maybe 40,000 people or so. But just always a lot of activity going on. We'd go to all the sporting events and all the, my parents, took us to cultural events, plays and I don't know, stuff like that, museums or whatever they had going on, exhibits, I guess. And so we got a lot of exposure, I guess, to different things, concerts, like I say, sporting events. So that's what I did. It's like a smaller town, so you had your elementary school. Growing up, I was able to walk to school. Even my junior high, I walked to school. But then, it was just great. I had a great group of friends. But being in a small town and a university town, there's a lot of opportunity to also get in a little bit of trouble here and there, because there wasn't a whole lot to do as far as kids go. Because back in those days, you could just run all over the place, and parents let you out and you come back at dark or whatever. So we had bikes, or we would walk to campus or anywhere else, and just had a great time. Just being kids and being able to just kind of do our own thing, and learned a lot. Got in a little bit of trouble, but for the most part, nothing too bad. But
absolutely, I never really ask any personal questions when I was working for you, but a lot of what you said just then makes a lot of sense. So I know that you're very athletic. I know you played sports in college. So when did the fascination with sports and that competitive drive really take over in your youth? Like 3rd grade, 4th grade, 9th grade?
Yeah, so I think, I had an older brother who was 5 years older than me, and he was a pretty good athlete. And all the older kids in the neighborhood, we'd all play outside and stuff, and on the block and in the street and everything, and in the alleys and everything. And so the older kids, they would always, put me, say, hey, Chris, come along, come with me. And they called me Little Benny, because my brother's name was Benny. So or that was his nickname anyway. So they said, "Hey, little Benny, come with us." And so, we did, played street football, played yard football, played knee football, played basketball, everything. We set up our own little Olympics, in the neighborhood Olympics, and we had a high jump, and we stole like a high jump pit or whatever, just all those foam things in a net. We went down to the junior high, like I said, that was down the street, and we hauled this big net back and put it in our backyard, and same thing with the high jump poles and the bars and everything else. And we had our own Olympics. We had, just all those types of things. And then being close to the university as well, watching all those sporting events, just, I don't know, just kind of naturally, I guess everyone just kind of played sports and was outside. So I played, I guess I started organized football in 5th grade, which was flag football then, 5th and 6th grade. And we had a really good team. I don't think maybe we lost one game, and we were the Packers. We played kids, other elementary schools and stuff from all over the place, and we did really well. And then junior high, football, track, basketball, a little bit of basketball. I'm not really a good basketball player.
Neither is Ty.
Baseball. And then just, up through high school and everything. But the whole time, that whole development, I think, was really, really on my brother, because he was like, hey, come do this with me. And I was always playing against the older kids. And I was a little quicker than most of the people in my age group and stuff. But at the time I had good hand-eye coordination. Now I have glasses and stuff. I can't see a thing. But yeah, it was just fun growing up in that environment. And, just one thing led to another, and I don't know. I mean, I'm in Iowa, right? So there's not like a whole lot of talent in Iowa, right? So I mean, I couldn't even probably make the 4th team here in Texas. But yeah, so I was like all state in track, all state in baseball, and all state in football. And again, I mean, some of them were honorable mention. I don't remember which is which, but anyway. So yeah, so then how I ended up at going to school and playing football in college was my folks big supporters of Iowa State, and that coach at the time when I was little was Johnny Majors, and he left Iowa State to go to Pitt, won a national title at Pitt with Tony Dorsett, and then he went back to his alma mater at Tennessee, where he was like a Heisman runner-up back in the 50s. And so anyway, when it was time for me to go to school, my dad just said, "Hey, listen, if you can get a scholarship, you can go to school." And because they didn't have really enough money to do that, to send all 3 of us kids to school. So I ended up, I got some smaller offers at some smaller schools for sports and stuff, and football in particular. But they, ROTC was, my dad had served, and in fact, our entire, on my dad's side of the family, we've had soldiers or in the military all the way back to the American Revolution. So my dad always kept pushing it to like, hey, you should go this route and this and whatnot. And when I was growing up, he was in, he didn't go to Vietnam, but he was in like the National Guard, and he went on a bunch of drills and did, put down a bunch of, I won't say a bunch, but a lot of uprising and stuff at both Iowa State and also at the University of Iowa and other places like that. So he was activated a few times. But I had all his gear, when you're little, you play Army and all that kind of stuff also. So I was doing that. And so I started thinking, okay, well, I got recruited by Iowa State, and several of my friends went there, but I didn't want to stay in town because I knew everybody and I just wanted to start my own way. And I figured if I stayed in Ames, where I grew up, I'd probably be in a lot of trouble just by hanging out with the same guys and all that kind of stuff. So I ended up applying or whatever, doing the test and all that kind of stuff out of the Iowa State Armory where the ROTC was. And so I did, I applied for an ROTC scholarship, got that, and I could pick any school that would accept me. And so I applied to several Didn't get in a couple of them because they were a little probably above my education level. But ended up, trying to go to Tennessee, and went down there and walked on the team at Tennessee. And I just wanted a place where I would, if I was not any good at football, then I would still have fun at Tennessee, and if I wasn't any good in ROTC, I'd still have fun at Tennessee or playing football or whatever. And anyway, it worked out. I talked to the recruiting guy down there. My mom and dad went down there with me, and that guy's name was, I think, Bob Higdon or something. Doesn't matter, but said, hey, I've got this ROTC scholarship. Would it be okay if I walked on? And they looked at my film and stuff, and they came and said, yeah, sure, you can do both. And they said, can we do both? And they came back and said, yeah, you can do both. I talked to the ROTC department as well, and they said, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if you committed or anything back then. I don't know what you did, but I signed. I guess I paid tuition or something. I don't know, and got into school and got down there. And both the ROTC program and the football program were great because they allowed me to do both. For ROTC, I didn't have to do a lot of the drills because I was doing football practice, and I didn't really have to do PT that much because I was doing football practice. But I did have to go to the class. And then on, I guess, once a semester or something, we had to do like a field problem, and some of those I got excused if it was in the fall, but then I went in the spring and summer and stuff like that. So anyway, that's kind of how I got there. And yeah, it was just.
So the military inspiration really started early in your life, and it just kind of coalesced with the football, and that led you in a wonderful direction.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you're good. I was going to just ask what was the experience like, and what the feeling to play at Tennessee under those Neyland Stadium lights and just the whole atmosphere that is Tennessee. What was it like? You were young, you came from Iowa, right? Small town USA. What was it like stepping on the field at Tennessee?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was awesome, right? I mean, the stadium back then was I think it was 96,000. I think now it's like, or maybe it was 102 back then. I forget. But yeah, I think they built onto it now, but you can't really do much because it's a bowl, right? And it's almost straight up. So it's just amazing, coming from when I went to games at Iowa State, for example, it was only held like 50,000. It was open on the ends, and it was out in the middle of nowhere, But so walking or going through the tunnel there and going out through the T at Tennessee was just, just amazing. I wasn't from Tennessee, so I didn't grow up idolizing or dreaming of going through the T. It just kind of something that happened. So I'm sure for a lot of my teammates who are from Tennessee, it was like the most awesome experience ever. And it was awesome already for me, but for them, it was probably just like, I don't know, a dream come true or whatever. But it was cool. And, fans always supportive. It's a whole sea of orange and just crazy fan base, right? And a lot of fun.
Way better than those Kentucky fans.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I joke with him all the time when I'd always say "Go Big Blue" and stuff like that. And I used to tell him my joke about when I was at Fort Campbell. I didn't even like having a Tennessee license plate on my car. Yeah. I wanted a UK, so I got a Tennessee license plate with a UK logo on it. So
yeah.
So, but yeah. So okay. So. You're in ROTC. Are you positive at this point that you're going to have a career in the military? And when did that kind of take full fold and what you wanted to do?
Yeah. So back up just a minute. So like I said, my entire side on my dad's side had been in the military. So both my uncles, my mom's brother and my dad's brother and his other brother, my dad's oldest brother was killed back at Fort Bragg in a helicopter accident. I don't know, late 50s. And so I always heard stories about, him. I'm named after, my middle name is named after him, Uncle Marvin. So my middle name is Marvin. It's kind of, but then my other uncle, my dad's other brother, was also in Vietnam. And then my mom's brother was in Vietnam. And so I heard, all those stories. And, they brought me back, the old survival and evasion handbook or whatever. So when I went out, when we were doing our hoodlum days, we would be using that survival, evasion and escape little manual, and crawling through people's yards and stuff, and hiding and doing all that kind of stuff. So, I love those manuals and coming back, and then they'd send magazines and stuff like that of, I don't know, I guess they were just like trade magazines, just like Army magazine or whatever, and I'd just be fascinated with that stuff growing up. And then, so I didn't know what I really wanted to do. I wasn't really, I figured that military was, because my dad said, hey, that's your path to go to school, right? So I knew I was going to do that, or it wasn't, I didn't necessarily think twice to apply for the ROTC scholarship. I thought that was a good path. What I didn't know at the time, though, is how long I'd stayed in the military. And so the scholarship was a 4-year scholarship, so that was great because I was getting paid for school, and then the football would also pay me a little bit of stipend as well. And so I was making money in school. And if for every year you go to school at the time, I think it was a 1-year payback. So I got a 4-year scholarship. Ended up taking me like 5.5 to graduate, but I still had a 4-year commitment after I graduated. And so I thought, I'll just do these 4 years and go off and do great and wonderful things. But, I found out that I liked it, I liked the people that I worked with. I love the people that I worked with. I liked the adventure of it. I liked the things that we were doing. And it felt, more importantly, I think I felt like there was, a purpose to what we were doing. And so, I just kept going. And then after 4 years, I think I went to the officer advanced course at the time. I don't know what it's called now. And then that gets you another year. And then I went through, company command. And so that kind of keeps you going. And every time I'd look at the guys ahead of me. Like when I was a platoon leader, I'd say, I'd never want to be a company commander. Gee, that looks like crap. You got all this work and all this stuff going on, and then there's like, after a while you say, oh yeah, I think I could do that, So then I was company commander. Then I was looking at like the XO and the S3.
Well, before you get too far along in your career though, what made you choose combat engineer to begin with? Like when you did commission, when you finished up 4 years of ROTC playing football, and then now you're in the regular Army, man, like what made you choose combat engineer?
Yeah. So, well, my degree is in engineering. It's not like a real engineer. It's industrial engineering. So it's not like construction. It's not like civil, or it's not mechanical and stuff like that, but it's industrial. And so I thought, it's got engineering in it. So I thought engineer would probably be a good way to go. But there's I thought about aviation a little bit. I thought about, my dad was field artillery. So I think about field artillery, stuff like that. But I think, the demonstration, between your 3rd and 4th year, you go to a summer camp, and I think they had one at, I don't know, Fort Knox, but the one I went to, for those that went to Tennessee or, in the Southeast or whatever, I don't know how they chose them, but I went to Fort Lewis, Washington, and they have this, a week or 3 days or something that they show you all the different branches, and they have, artillery going off. They have this big field that all the cadets or whatever on bleachers, and they have this demonstration that they're basically selling you all the different branches. And so they'll have, like I said, artillery going off. You'll have combat engineers breaching, an obstacle of some sort. You'll have, attack helicopters coming in, and then you'll have, Blackhawks coming in. I don't know if they had Blackhawks back then. Maybe they did. And then, the demonstrators would jump out of the helicopter, then go and attack some objective and say, "Oh, I want to be that guy." And so that's kind of how they did it, right? And then, so at school, you'd, based on your grades, that their RTC, right? Based on your grades and your PT score and all that kind of stuff, you'd have an OML, order merit list, and then you'd pick your branches, which ones you wanted to do, and you had to pick like 1 or 2 combat arms, 1 or 2, combat support, and 1 or 2 combat service support. And so I just laid them all out, and I actually ended up finishing up pretty good in my OML. So I picked engineers, and I'm glad I did. It was cool to be able to support, infantry, armor, as well as doing, a whole bunch of other stuff, just more versatile, and just a lot of cool stuff, I think.
So
Way,
what year
way
did
better
you
than
commission?
MPs, Ty. Way better.
I had the best MPs though. 716th was absolutely the best MP battalion in the whole army, and that's the unit I was with. But yeah, I got you, man. So what year did you commission, sir?
90. Yeah, I think it was 90. Yeah.
Okay, so this kind of
Yeah.
leads me into my next two questions. So you commissioned in 1990, so you're having a lot of the residual trickle down of the Vietnam leaders and things like that. What was the biggest transition you saw from when you commissioned to right up until 2001? Now, I'm going to ask secondly where you were on 9/11/2001, but what was that transition like for you, as like going through your first 4 years and liking it and deciding you're going to stay in? What was that transition?
Well, yeah. So a lot of like my R2C cadre, a lot of them were Vietnam veterans, right? And then when I got into my first unit, I was with 7th ID at Fort Ord, and they had just completed coming out of Panama, right? So they did all the operations down in Panama, and some also, not a lot, but some Vietnam vets there as well. And Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it was like before. I know that when we ended up going to jungle school down in Panama about a year or two after I guess it was probably 92 or 93 maybe, and the war in Panama was or Just Cause was 89. Um, and I know when we were down there, they had the big drawdown where we were out doing jungle warfare training, and then they called us all in, and we got in this big auditorium or whatever it was, and they came out and started saying, "Hey, we're going to do this big drawdown," and I forget how it all went down, but a lot of people left after that, right? Um, and so I don't, that those 10 years, I mean, I always worked. I always worked with what I thought was really good leaders. I never had any. I don't think any residual effect, I guess, if you will, of the Vietnam era and some of the troubles and the issues that I think they were having in the late '80s. I really didn't see that. Maybe I just was, not coherent enough to understand what any of that stuff was. But I always had very good leaders. I worked with a bunch of really great, young people my age and not much older than me, and we always just had a really good time. So, I mean, I don't know if I answered your question now, but that's
Oh yeah,
that's kind of my
absolutely.
experience.
So in 9/11/2001, where were you doing at that time?
Yeah, so that's the 10-year mark, and I had just arrived in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, for at the time it was called CGSC, Command and General Staff College. So um, I had just left PERSCOM at the time, completed company command and all that kind of stuff. Did a tour at PERSCOM, now HRC, and went back to go to school, for advanced or CGSC for, I guess, field grade officers, right? And we were sitting in class, and everyone said, "Hey, turn the TV on." And so just a whole bunch of us, like 30 people in our small group or whatever it was, that classroom, just watched it. And then, I mean, we were all just like, really quiet and watching it. And then they let us go, and we picked the kids up from school. It was on post school, so we were able to. I actually only had one in school at the time, and picked them up or picked her up, and then just we're kind of just like, I don't know, just kind of wasn't really walking around the days, but it was just really surreal, and just trying to. Everything was quiet. We went outside with the kids and showed them. There was we used to have a whole lot of traffic because Leavenworth is kind of close to Kansas City Airport, and we just looked up in the sky and told I mean, they're only like 5 or 6 years old, and so just said, hey, there's not going to be any planes in the sky for a while, and that's what I remember most about it. And then just watching the news and then seeing how it played out over the course of the next several days and weeks, I guess, and how they change the curriculum kind of on what we were taught and what we're focused on.
Yeah, I don't think we ask a lot of people this that were in during 9/11. I don't think I've ever had anyone say that they, actually talked about this with their kids. I was in Kosovo. I didn't get to have a conversation with my kids for another 5 or 6 months, and or
Yeah,
4 or 5
I was
months.
in Italy.
Where were
So
you at?
I was deployed to Italy, so I didn't. My wife had to deal with that. I didn't talk to my kids either until I got back from deployment, and it was a shit show just because, like you said, all the planes were canceled. My wife was supposed to come out with the kids to visit. All that got scrapped, and then we were on high alert. Going to the armory, getting. We didn't know what was going on, and then it all transpired from there. But yeah, it was crazy. It is surreal. I mean, you nailed it. It's a very surreal feeling. Like you're not necessarily in a daze, but you're really just kind of wondering, especially with us. I mean, we were overseas, so we were wondering what the fuck, what's going on? Like this is crazy. And yeah, the next thing I know, we're deploying to a combat zone. So yeah, it was craziness.
So, sir, here's my next question for you. So you talked about doing juggle training, then there's a drawdown, and then you ended up staying in. 9/11 happens, and I know at the beginning of 9/11 or the beginning of the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, there wasn't a lot of roadside bombs and IEDs. But how quick after 9/11 happened did the engineering mission really start pointing towards we're going to end up having to do route clearance? And how did your mission change then and the op tempo change for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, so for example, I got out of school. I think we graduated on time. I don't remember. I don't remember a whole lot of stuff, to be honest with you. But we graduated. My next duty assignment was Fort Riley, 70th Engineers, and we had a. I guess I got there in probably June or July maybe, and then we had an NTC rotation in January. And we're training. We figuring that we're going to go to war at some point, right? And I'm the S3, and we're training and doing all weapons training. Just all the training up for NTC, right? And then we get to NTC, and they're kind of, in some ways, they're still kind of doing the standard force on force type stuff at NTC. Because I remember laying minefields and against all this stuff, and I guess we really, didn't know what we were going to face, right? But I remember being at NTC, and they cut our NTC rotation short because we had to get back to deploy, and yeah, so it wasn't like cut it in half, but it was quicker than normal, right? And so we we hurried up and finished our training and all that kind of stuff, packed our bags because we knew that we were going to deploy. And I don't remember when we actually deployed. I think we didn't end up deploying until like May or June of 2004. I think it was May. No, it was in April. We deployed in April. That's right. But we still hurried back, and so you ask about the training. I didn't see the change in training till after I got back.
Right.
Right, and then because then I was assigned to NTC as a sidewinder, which is the OC, the training team for combat engineers, and that's when we started, kind of incorporating some of the lessons learned from OIF into the scenarios and everything that we did at NTC, and so yeah, and then we also started right before I left. We started transitioning from combat engineer trainers to the BSTB, which is, and I don't remember what that was. It was like the brigade
Support Battalion
BSTB,
team.
support. I don't know what BSTB is, but it was something. And where we started having not just engineers and pure engineer battalion, but you also had MPs, you had a signal company, you had an MP company, sometimes you had an intelligence company. And so it really became a force enabler, an important force enabler if the brigade that you were supporting, that infantry or armor brigade commander, really knew how to utilize the BSTB. But that's a big if, and that from my experience, it was a big if. But it was interesting.
Yeah. Can you hear us? You can't hear us again, can you?
I can hear you. You can't.
Oh,
hear
you can't.
I
Okay.
got to log back out.
You can't hear me now? Yeah. Log off and log back out.
Damn.
And I hate that we have these problems, man. It makes us look like amateurs.
That's all
But
good,
this
bro.
this is interesting because that was a big change in the MP Corps when they broke. This is, I guess.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, it
back.
makes sense that you don't really know what you're training for until you kind of get there and see what it is on ground, and then when you come back, all your tactics change. I mean, we did the same thing. You know, you don't know what you're stepping into till you get there, and then you take the lessons learned, the best practices, and when you come back, then you start looking at the way you're training, the way you're fighting, and you start modifying war fighters. You start changing the way we operate. I mean, it's funny when Colonel mentions JWTC or General Warfare Training Center. We were doing JWTC and doing General Warfare Training Center, and then we're getting ready to go to a desert. So it was like, what are we really like? Was this training really that pertinent? Like, why are we? And then you get to Kuwait, you go through MPR&I, and you do the desert warfare training and how to clear all this different stuff. But you don't know that until you get there. You step off the plane, you have no idea what you're expecting, and then once you come back, then it's like, okay, now we're going to take a look at our tactics and the way we operate, what we're doing to modify it to fit the landscape of that mission, right? So it makes perfect sense.
So I'm sorry we got cut off there, sir, but yeah, we were talking about. So this is about 2005.
I came back and I don't know. I think we deployed in April of 2003 and came back in April of 2004.
Yeah, I remember I was telling Al when you got disconnected there, when we got disconnected with sound, that that's when the MP Corps changed a lot, and it really, when they went off and were direct support for the brigades, that's when at Fort Campbell we switched to 4 brigades, and it was the brigade combat team, BSTBs, and all that kind of stuff, and MCOM change or DISCOM changed to sustainment brigade. The whole mentality seemed to switch around. Okay, so at what point did your op tempo, you're getting deployed? At what point did you come up for command of the 2nd Engineer Battalion, or am I jumping ahead too much?
No, that's fine. I mean, I graduated. I left NTC, and they always say, "What are you going?" They ask you where you want to go and what you want to do, not necessarily that you're going to get it. But I ended up going to Alaska in the Corps of Engineers, and the reason I did that, or asked, I guess I was offered several different options, I guess, and that's the one I chose because my the Sidewinder 7, who was our lead trainer, the combat engineer lead trainer at NTC, commanded at the Detroit district, and he loved it. And he was a total combat guy. I mean, he was like, wow, he was heartbroken when he got Detroit district because he wanted nothing to do with the Corps of Engineers. And but when he came back, he was like, oh man, that was the greatest job ever. So I started looking at it logically, maybe for the first time ever, of how my career path was going to go and stuff like that. And I go, I could if I'm selected for command somewhere, I could get a district, not ever having, experience in the district. And for those that don't know what a Corps of Engineer district is, it's they do all the civil and federal construction on like your levees and dams and water management and flood control, as well as military construction on all the bases, like we're hangars on Air Force bases and barracks on Army and Air Force and all those types of things. So anyway, I went to Alaska to get that experience, and so I was up there for 2 years, trying to get 3 years actually, but then I was selected for command of the 2nd Engineers, and so I went from Alaska. I went from NTC desert to Alaska down to Mojave Desert in White Sands, New Mexico, for the 2nd Engineers.
Right, and what was that like going to White Sands to a unit that's moving there from, I think, Fort Riley, standing up the only active duty unit on Wismar, and then realizing that you're going to deploy the entire battalion kind of in pieces. Talk about what that experience was like at the beginning.
Poof, wow. Yeah, I mean, unless you were there, you'd never, you had to live it, I guess, right, to understand it, right? But I got on the ground and I don't know when it was, I suppose July. I think there was maybe 7 people on the ground. I think I was number 7, maybe number 8. Um, and just, trickles of from the 70th were coming down. And you go there and there's the Army says that's where you're going. But this installation had absolutely nothing in terms of facilities for us. And I actually did a recon. I flew down from Alaska, went to Fort Riley and did a briefing or to somebody, some 2-star at Fort Riley. But then I went back to Alaska. And when I came back down, I did another TDY to White Sands to talk with the installation folks and said, what do you need? And I looked around. I said, oh, well, we need everything. And they said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, we don't have a barracks, we don't have dining facility, we don't have motor pools, we don't have any of this stuff. They had buildings that were built, for test, mostly for test. It wasn't for, the motor pool was they had a couple bays in an abandoned building and a fence around a parking lot, but that's not a motor pool. And so we just started working. It was, I don't know how many hours a day, every day it was, but it was just hard, right? Really challenging. The fortunate thing is, one, the people at White Sands were really good, very supportive, um, and also that our soldiers we had were outstanding as well. Just go getters, and because really there was no way with the levels of the levels of coordination and the meetings and stuff back and forth. I couldn't, I was involved in that. And so you had to leave it to the soldiers. And I'll get to that in a minute, but you had to leave it to them to really, stand up the rest of the battalion and get people trained and get, dress right dress and get the ranks filled and all that kind of stuff. Cause it was just constant, just challenges left and right. With the installation, not because of the installation, but because IMCOM itself wasn't, Installation Management Command, IMCOM just wasn't really prepared, I guess, to have us. Part of that, I think, was, and just a little background, I think there were 2 brigades that were supposed to come out of Germany and go to Fort Bliss, and one of the brigades was supposed to also go to White Sands, but those 2 brigades never materialized. So 70th or 2nd Engineers was the 70th Engineers deactivated and became the 2nd Engineers, basically, at least the people. So 70th was the 2nd Engineer Battalion was the only unit that actually materialized at White Sands. So it was just really, really challenging.
I remember getting there and meeting, I think at the time, 2nd Lieutenant Mansick or 1st Lieutenant maybe, and it was we were still in the test center buildings before everything got built. But I do remember the command team. I had deployed a bunch of times before this, so I was used to getting outfitted by Fort Campbell standards. And you come out there and we really have nothing on the MTO. We don't have any of the cool stuff that we're going to need to communicate. But then I remember it was pretty soon after I got there, we started getting trips back to USACE. They gave us some wonderful equipment to reach back and communicate. The installation there at White Sands, they gave us the global cell phones, their IS satellite phones. I'm pretty sure they helped us get those. No, they didn't help us get the snaps. That was someone else. But we had everything we ever needed because we were the main effort. We were the only active duty unit on that post.
Right. No, that's like I say, that was the amazing part, right? Because we had almost, it seemed like unlimited money, but we couldn't, because the systems weren't in place, we didn't know how to spend it, or we couldn't get it going. But once we turned that on, once we were able to figure that out with Fort Bliss, man, we took all sorts of money, and we got all the great equipment. There was always all this new equipment training going on, and we got some of the top shelf stuff around the board, and it was awesome. But yeah, the installation was great in trying to get that. The challenge was, of course, that I think the constraints that IMCOM had it's a long process, right? It takes a long time to get stuff, and that was a challenge because we needed to get going. And thankfully, we got everything, just in time in a lot of cases, but we got it. And White Sands itself was beautiful, and the ability, the capabilities that we had, and the opportunities that we had to train were unbelievable as well. And really was probably the perfect environment to train us to go into that goat field in northern Afghanistan, right? Because we came in as a battalion, same kind of situation at White Sands. There was nothing there. We had to build it, and then we had to work all the different relationships to make it work and get all the stuff, and it just helped. It helped us. I think ultimately it helped us when we were downrange, because we were able to be self-reliant in a lot of cases. We were able to go out and go get, talk to people we need to talk to, because that's what we had to do at White Sands as well.
Yeah, very much. I remember I said at the beginning of the show, I'm not sure if you heard, but it was one of the most enlightening assignments I ever had. And it's due to the fact that at Fort Campbell, it's steeped in history since, World War II. Don't have a mission, but they have a rendezvous with destiny. So everything they had is doctrinal, it's tradition, it's, there's a lot of buildings, units don't just change a lot. And so coming there to Wismar, living in Las Cruces, New Mexico, which, it's my youngest son was born there. It's a very special place. So I think I get there in December of 2009. And then what happens when you, as a battalion commander, we start standing everything up and you get orders for us to deploy to Afghanistan? What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of expected, right? I mean, that's kind of what we were training for. And I think what it did though is just like, hey guys, now we know we're going, so let's accelerate what we're doing. And so, like I said, because we were the only show in town, and we had so many great NCOs and leaders and young officers and everything else that were just took an initiative and got stuff done, right? And so I think we were able to spend a lot more time training and getting ready than probably other units in other installations, because there's probably a lot more bureaucracy there, and so we just kind of sped things up, and we developed our own scenarios. A lot of that was based off of my experience and our S3, Tim Vale's experience. Vale was with me at NTC. Now I knew we were going to go deployed, so I actually requested that he come. We actually waited on him. When I was selected for command, I was supposed to go to 70th Engineers. 70th Engineers deactivating. And so they said, well, you're going to go to 2nd Engineers now instead of White Sands. I said, oh, okay, well, what does that mean? Well, no one's slotted for there. You're not going to have any field grade officers for a while, and we'll get you on the next cycle or something. I said, no, that's not the way it works. And so I requested Bill Condi, because when I was at PERSCOM, and I know how the PERSCOM thing worked, right? So I called the people at PERSCOM and said, hey, I need these guys. I'd never done that before. I never called in any chips, but I did for those two, because I knew what they were capable of doing and the skill sets that they had. So anyway, so we developed that training based off of a lot of the scenarios that we did at NTC. And and our teams, our staff and everyone else just kind of took off on that too. We developed some, not me and not, but we as our staff was able to develop this I don't even know what you call it, but it was just like a route. I don't know what kind of training it was. I can't remember, to be honest with you, but or how to explain it. But we had all these different, it wasn't even stations, but there were just scenarios where you went to, and we were able to do a lot of free, operate freely without constraints of a normal installation. And we did it safely, of course, but we were also able to do our own live fire ranges, non-standard live fire ranges for both explosives as well as weapon systems. And so with that, I think, like I said, White Sands was a perfect place for us to be. And so I think going back to your question, we were just able to accelerate that and spend a lot of time training, mindful, of course, that and not always successful, but trying to get, people back in time so they could eat dinner with their families and stuff like that. But it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple names there. Major at the time, William Condi and Timothy Vale. Like I remember Vale being very, deliberate and very, very intense. And like I said, I deployed a bunch, so I really enjoyed being around him, even though I argued with him a lot, half the time jokingly like he was. But I remember your XO, Major Condi, would be on the phone, like just making deal after deal to get things that we need. He was like, BILCO, just yelling his name so people would know who he freaking is. And then, I always joked with Vel about AR-25-Vel was just something that he came up with, because I have a little book that I write little things in, and the what, so what, which means, and therefore, all those things that he used to say and just batter people with. Like, I remembered that because it mattered when you were in combat, and I had been deployed a lot, and so I really related to his very harsh style.
Yeah. Well, I love. Our first experience wasn't good because I assigned him to Korea, and he was not liking that. And then I picked him up to go to White Sands. I'm not sure if he's liking that either, but I love Tim, and but he's a little tyrant. But our experience at NTC together was, I mean, he knew he could read my mind, and I could say something that he can articulate it better than I. Sometimes at a much higher level, and I'd say, hey Tim, you got to tone that down a little bit so other people understand. But he could read my mind, and I'd say, hey, remember that thing we did, at Red Pass, this rotation or whatever? And he said, oh yeah. I said, let's do that. Let's try and work something like that out. So then he'd go back and make that scenario, right? And so that's why I felt, because I had that, I knew we were going to deploy pretty quick, and I needed somebody that I knew that I could trust and that could understand what I was trying to accomplish, and my vision, I guess. And he was able to translate all that and then put it to paper and put it to execution. So.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. We had a very strong team. Like, I remember all the S shops were very strong NCOs. Master Sergeant Bo had a great team in the S3, and I remember the soldiers I had in S6. They were just wonderful. And what you're saying thus far, sir, I have had different kind of leaders, and a lot of them were very Major Vel. A lot of them were like Major Vel, very in your face, up front, yelling. And I don't think I ever heard you yell. I've heard you talk sternly to calm people down sometimes, but I appreciate that. And, after all these years, getting that perspective and nuance about you, I mean, it just solidifies how I felt about you back in the day. So appreciate you sharing that.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, I'll tell you, I mean, throughout my career, I've just, people have my leadership have entrusted me, and they just said, hey, there's your unit. Here's what I want you to do. Go do it. And they've left me alone, right? And so, and it's a lot of trust, right? And they've given me trust. So I trust everybody inherently, right? Until they prove me otherwise, right? But there's no reason to get excited about anything. The only time I ever get excited, and I say this on occasion, is like, the only reason to get excited is if someone's dying or gonna die, right? So other than that, it's all just a learning experience, right? And you can't do everything. You can't be micromanaging. You can't. Yelling. If someone yells at me, man, I just shut down. I was like, who are you? Talking to another human being like that, And so I never get too excited about a whole lot of things. I think, I don't know, people like that. Maybe people don't like it. I don't know, but that's just the way I operate. So, but yeah, it's a lot of trust, and with trust, you still have to, obviously, overwrite that, because there's sometimes risk in that, and that's okay. I'm willing to do that, and as mistakes are made or whatever, then you just learn from them. There's no point in putting blame on anybody. It's just like, okay, you made a mistake. How do we fix it next time and don't do it again? And that's to me, that's part of development, because that's what people have done to me my entire career.
Very nice. Love it, sir. All right. So we're in Afghanistan. We finished up that mission and come back. And I know I left Fort Polk fairly quickly after that. I think Colonel Balios came in. What was next for you after 2nd Engineer Battalion?
Yeah, I was trying to remember the sequence. I had an opportunity. The PERSCOM or HRC or whatever called me. Actually, when I was in Afghanistan, they called me and said, what are you doing next? And I'm like, I don't know. What am I doing? And they said, here's a couple options. You can go be Sidewinder 7 back at NTC. You can be the, I forget what they're called in I don't know what they're called at JMTC in Hohenfels, that combat engineer thing, or you can do the same thing at JRTC at Fort Polk, or you can go to school. And I'm looking, I've already been to NTC. I'd love to go back, but my kids are of a certain age. I'm not going to put them on a bus and have them go to school for an hour, that kind of thing, to Silver Lakes and come back. And same thing with Fort Polk. The kids just weren't. I didn't think that it would be great for me. I don't think it'd be great professionally. But I don't think it'd be great for the family. And then so I said, well, what about school? Tell me about that. And they said, well, you can go to, senior service college. So I went to senior service college. I went to Army War College in Carlisle Barracks. We redeployed from Afghanistan. I think my report date was within, a month or 6 weeks or something of returning. And so we just hightailed it over to Carlisle Barracks and did that for 10 months or so. And I would tell you that, that's supposed to be the greatest year of your life, they say. But for me, it was not the greatest year of my life, just because I was just coming back from, Afghanistan. My mind was racing. You're supposed to read so much, and it's only a lot of reading if you read it. But, you want to be prepared going to class, because I was still kind of young going into class. Most everyone else outranked me by a year or more. And, I wanted to be prepared and, do the right thing. But I'd read books or what I was supposed to read, and I'd read a paragraph, and then I'd close my eyes and say, what the hell did I just read? I don't remember any of the things I just read. I think because my mind was still just racing, and it was so slow there at Carlisle Barracks for school, I just could not concentrate. And so school pretty much sucked for me. I was not the student that I thought I was or would be. And I struggled through that whole year, and it was just kind of tough. But that's what you do. You after that you graduate, and then I went to Europe and became the
So this is the War College, right?
Yeah, that was the War College. Yeah.
Okay. So you graduate. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, graduated, then took an assignment. I knew then I was selected for command while I was at school, at brigade level command, and or 06 command, and so they pre-positioned me in Europe, because that's where my command was, in Europe. And I was the Deputy Chief of Staff for Engineer for U.S. Army Europe for a year.
And then after that year, were you pretty much ready to? What happened then? Did you?
Yeah. So I left that command, and then, that I left that position in USAR, and then went to assume command of the U.S. Army garrison, Ansbach. And so kind of, I made that decision for a couple of reasons. Fortunately, that was my number one choice, right? Because we had always wanted to go to Europe, so it was kind of location based, right? When I was at PERSCOM, I always said, I'm never gonna choose where I want to go, because as an assignments guy, as for captains and stuff, I always just like, hey, I learned that, I guess it's more about, just tell me where you want me to go, because once you choose it, then, be careful what you wish for, right? But anyway, so the list came out. We'd always wanted to go to Europe and never had an opportunity. All our friends went to Europe way before us. And so, Ansbach came up, and my experience at White Sands actually made me want to dabble into commanding an installation, because of, I thought the benefits that you could, the level of support and how you could service just not only soldiers, but also families and that kind of thing. Also, trying to think about my life after the Army, and if you're only dealing with soldiers your whole life, is a company or somebody gonna think that's important, or would you rather have a little bit of experience, supervising and leading, civilians as well? So that kind of went into some of my thought process too. But ended up in Ansbach, and it was a great assignment. There was aviation heavy. There was a combat aviation brigade there. Multiple installations throughout northern Bavaria, and then so that was the initial thing going in, and took command down there, and then over the course of time, the situations changed and stuff like that. So I picked up a couple other commands, or a couple other installations, I should say, and yeah, just had a good time there.
So you mentioned when you were starting to pick your branch that you thought about aviation, so it kind of come full circle. And it
Yeah.
seemed like, what came first? Were you starting to think about what your career would be after, or did your curiosity in the military for installation command take over? Was it, your post, or
Uh,
that's just what you
well,
wanted to do in the military?
well, I don't know. I kind of figured that this would be my last go around when I got into Europe, right? I'd been around for a while. Kids had been, hauling the kids around, they've been following me everywhere. And they'd been, our kids had been, I don't know, I think we PCS like 18 times, 16 or 18 times in 26 years. I think my oldest daughter, like everybody, I'm not complaining. I mean, all the military does the same thing, right? But I think my youngest son was not as thrilled of moving as our two older girls were, and so just wanted to put a little stability into his life, and so I thought that going to Europe would probably be my last tour, and it ended up being that way, by choice. But yeah, it was great. I don't know. I mean, I think the thought process, right? I don't know. No, I think it was just a matter of wanting to further develop myself with different types of leadership, right, over different types of people. Because I knew I'd have the German workforce. I knew I'd have the DA civilians workforce. I knew I'd have family members, and I knew I'd have the military. And so, you're kind of leading, if you will. I don't know about leading, with direct leadership, but you're influencing, all those different types of people that I thought would broaden my leadership abilities or something. I don't know.
So you make the decision ultimately to get out of the military. What was your transition like as a colonel, as an '06 in the Army? What was your transition advice? What you have to preach on, like the slides for SFL TAP. What was your transition like?
Yeah, so Ansbach is a small town in northern Bavaria. All of the transition, I guess we had a little bit of a transition team down there, but it wasn't very robust, right? It's kind of like at White Sands, right? You had that cadre that was there, and they know what they know, but you know, and that's about it. And so for a lot of the transition, I had to go to like Wiesbaden, which was, I don't know, 2 hours, 3 hours away. And quite honestly, I didn't get there, a lot because I was still in command. Um, I decided to retire after my change of command. So I didn't get there, and I don't know. I went to a few of the sessions, and it was okay, but a lot of it was just PowerPoint. PowerPoint deep. Hey, if you want to learn about whatever, here's the link, PowerPoint. So it wasn't as robust, I think, as maybe some of the transition um, uh, support activities they have now, right? And I don't know. Fortunately, uh, I made a decision as a family as a family, we made a decision to retire. Two, made a decision to stay there in Europe. And then three is like, okay, now what are you going to do? And my wife said, well, you got to get a job. And I'm like, well, okay. And so I'm trying to figure out what that is, and or what it might be. And I don't know, just I would just say it's hard to transition out of the military out overseas. I know a lot of people have, but fortunately, I was very fortunate in that I was able to slide into a job that was to me, was very important, sounded exciting, and it was a huge pay cut. But I ended up. So my son wanted to stay and graduate from the school that he'd been going to, right? And so we had to stay another 3 years, or that's when I don't know, he would graduate in 3 years. And so I took a job. It was a GS-13 job. I was a master planner for the vision that I had as the installation commander, right? So we had our base was going to close. When I first came on board to command, there's like, hey, congratulations, you're going to be the last commander of this installation. I'd already closed down, I think, 3 or 4 other installations throughout my career. And I'm like, okay, great. But we were able to flip that around because we did have aviation. We had the only aviation facilities that were really worth anything. And so we flipped it around and convinced the BRAC people and U.S. Army Europe people that Ansbach was worth saving. And so at the end, we had these plans, or we had this vision to make it the strategic aviation platform for Europe, and the best hometown and a bunch of other stuff. And so we started really selling that, not selling it because we wanted to keep everyone's job or anything like that, because it was truly the strategic aviation platform for Europe. And if they gave that up, you're not going to get access for our helicopters anywhere else. Certainly not in Stuttgart, and certainly not in Hohenfels. They had a bunch of issues at Hohenfels and Bavaria and all these other places. So that we had to keep Ansbach. So anyway, long story short, all the vision that we had as a team to keep Ansbach on the right path, at that time also, I forget what it was called, but they were having a bunch of units being stationed in Europe, and they were trying to figure out, okay, where we're going to put all these things. I had also commanded Bamberg and Schweinfurt in Germany, and we closed those. They told me to close them quick, so I closed them quick. I closed them. I made the decision to hurry up, but our team did a fantastic job closing them quicker than anyone expected. And so then when they said, hey, we need places, I'm like, we already closed these things. You told us to hurry up, and we hurried up. So they're closed. So what are you going to do? And so anyway, kind of lost my train of thought, other than the fact that I became a master planner. We continued continued with the plan.
So you're talking about vision 2018, 2019, whatever your vision as a Army green suiter, your vision as the installation commander, saw that through, closed some places, and then in Ansbach, you become the master planner. Right. That's a pretty freaking cool transition. When did you get a chance to not be a military person anymore? Like,
no,
did you get a chance to okay.
I didn't really, but I mean, it was awesome because I knew everybody in town because I was a commander. I knew all the Germans in not only town, but in the county and in the state, and so I had all these political connections. I'm not a political person at all, but I mean, I had all these connections with folks, and then when they said, and I knew a guy up at USAR staff that I used to work with, that hey, we need to find places to put all these units that are coming into Europe. And I'm like, well, Ansbach, we have the capacity. We just need renovations on this building and this building, and sequencing them properly. And so when money came at the end of the year, they said, hey, does anyone have a project? And I'm like, yeah, we've got all these projects. We've already done all the planning and all the planning charrettes, and says, here, this building's going to cost whatever, $12.8 million. You got $12.8 million. Let's fix this building. And then after you get done with that building, I got another one for $8 million. And so it was sequenced, right? And so I love that job. I mean, it was hard. I mean, I was working just as much as I was working when I was in command, but it was for a purpose, right? And it felt like I was accomplishing a vision, a shared vision, not just my vision, but I mean, it was a shared vision of getting Ansbach back up to where it needed to be to not only be the strategic aviation platform for Europe, but also to accept all these other positions. And right now there's 18th, I think it's called 18th, or maybe it's the 7th Engineer Brigade is in Barton Barracks, where our headquarters used to be. We've got two ADA battalions that are occupying spaces that were at the time were not occupied, or they were occupied, but by different people at way less capacity, way less utilization of the facilities. And so, I think we pumped in about I don't know, don't quote me on this, but maybe about $140 million, or no, more than that. I don't know how many millions of dollars, but we did all these things to all these different buildings, and now we've increased the capacity, and now we have a vibrant, installation there in Ansbach, Germany.
So you transition out of the military, you go from installation commander with the vision to shut down and or expand. Already got the project management taken care of. You build up Ansbach, you become the master planner there. And at what point did your family, did it feel to your family like you had changed out of the military, or did it feel like you were still in the military for them?
Uh, well,
As
no,
far
I
as like
mean,
seeing them and
no, it was. I mean, our oldest, our two girls had already left, and they were in university at Texas A&M, and so they came back for the summer and Christmas time. It was our son, but even in that job, I mean, I worked hard and I loved what I was doing. But he played football, he played basketball, he did all that stuff, and I was actually uh, I was assistant football coach. Um, and so I was assistant football coach for I think 3 years maybe. So I took afternoons off, and then I'd go back to work after that. Um, and so maybe that's why my hours were so long. I don't know, but no, I mean, we were able to travel. We did all that kind of stuff. Went to all the games. I took a lot of leave. Well, not a lot, but I mean, enough. I was able to spend enough time with the family, right? Uh, but it was not being in the military because I wasn't doing. Um, I think I was more free, I guess, in some ways, right? I don't know. Does that make
yeah.
sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Like I think most people struggle with the transition out of the military into becoming civilian. So it's just
Yeah.
a lot of times,
Well,
you may find the right job, but you're
yeah.
still
Well,
in that fight or flight.
yeah. No, I was very fortunate because the guy who had been there, he left. It was during the Syrian influx of Syrian immigrants, and he lived in the town where they flooded the town with Syrian immigrants, and his wife got scared, so they said, "Hey, we're not staying here anymore. We went home." So that was my master planner. And so when he left, I was like, "Well, hey, I asked the new commander. I said, hey, the new commander. I said, hey, you need a master planner. Would you be okay if I stayed here? If you don't want me here, I'll leave. I mean, you don't, some commanders don't want another commander around. I totally get that." And so I'm like, I'm more than willing to leave and get out of here, but I think I could help you. And so he said, "Yeah, go ahead and stay." So I did, and it was a very smooth transition because of that, and because of, like I said, I already knew everybody. I already knew all the contacts and all the skeletons and all that kind of stuff, and so we just continued the plan. And so my transition in that regard was very easy. The hard part was, uh, you know, the whole medical piece, the whole um, when I transitioned from Europe to where I'm at now in Dallas, you just lose a lot of, I don't know, uh, I don't know, you just lose a lot of that continuity maybe. And so, but I was able to gain what I was missing medical wise there. I gained here in Dallas.
So what year was it that you came back to Dallas?
In 2020, right during COVID, right at the beginning of COVID. I think we left Europe in May, and I reported here in June, 1st of June.
Okay, so COVID had begun when you were still in Europe. Was the traveling
Right.
pretty crazy to get back?
Yeah. I mean, my mom had died in April, so I think I came. I don't know how it all went down, but I accepted the job. My wife said, "Hey, right before COVID even came, she goes, all our kids are, my son had since graduated. All our kids are in the States. They're not getting summer leave because they have real jobs now. They're not getting summer. They're not coming in the summer, and they're not coming at Christmas either. So, all our kids are in the States. Our parents are getting older. Let's go home." And I was like, I was fat, dumb, and happy. I was drinking, German beer and eating schnitzel, and with all the people that I knew, all my relationships that I had over the past, several years. And I was like, "Hey, I'm not leaving." She goes, "No, we are." And she found me a job, uh, and it ended up being fantastic. But I signed that. I had the interview like in January, February. Then COVID hit like probably 3 weeks later, and and then my mom died in April, and so I went back to help my dad and all that kind of stuff. And over a course of 7 weeks, we had scheduled household goods and stuff. I was quarantined for 6 of those 7 weeks because I was 2 weeks in the States when I got here, and then 2 weeks back, and then I packed up our stuff, uh, in that week that I wasn't quarantined, I guess, and then came back to the States and I was quarantined here. Yeah, and when we got on the plane, my plane to see my dad, I think I was like, it was really the Frankfurt airport. Like I didn't see a soul in that airport, and it was really eerie when I walked to the gate. And then a couple of people got off the plane. When I got on the plane, I think there was like 3 people. I was the only one in my entire section. I think there was 1 or 2 people in the sections behind me, and so it was like really weird. So yeah. So we get here in July or not, June, I guess, and then quarantined, and then I just started a job, but that was all remote as well. Although I did go to work until I realized that, hey, no one else is coming to work. Why am I coming to work? So I went back to our little temporary place and worked out up there for a while.
So what does life look for you like now? You said earlier you're in Dallas, but what does life look like for you now in 2026?
That's good. I mean, life is good. I'm eyeing, retiring from this job at some point in the near future. And then I don't know what's after that. We'll figure it out. But we bought some property down in the hill country, so we might try and build something down there. Life where I'm at, I mean, I'm working every day. It's good. It's good work, purposeful work. I'm working for the Corps of Engineers here at the Southwestern Division, and we have 4 districts in CONUS, actually four districts, Little Rock, Tulsa, Fort Worth, and Galveston. Then we also have a district that handles construction, military construction primarily, and international support for SOCOM and CENTCOM over in the Middle East. But most of their operations are shut down during the last few weeks, I guess, with the war with Iran. So,
gotcha.
Nice hat tie.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you sharing your story, sir. It is now time for the hot seat. So I'm going to drop Al down, and I'm not going to play any music because I don't want your sound to mess up. But as you can see, I'm wearing my UK hat that you remember everybody had to have one of these to drive a Gator. This is my second year UK hat. So, all right, Al, you be right back, bro. All right, what we always like to do with the hot seat. This is normally we don't have Matt on today. Normally he's doing the interview, and I'm just doing the hot seat. But it's rapid fire questions, get to know you a little bit better, and kind of find out some things about you. Before you went out on missions, what was your mission playlist like?
I don't know if I had any playlist. I don't really listen to music, to be honest with you. If I did have something, it would be probably at that time, it'd probably be like Johnny Cash.
Can't go wrong with Johnny Cash. All right, sir, what was your favorite assignment in the military?
I've had a lot of them. Alaska was great. Fort Ord was great on Monterey. That was my first assignment. I would think, though, just with all the opportunities I had with my family and everything, it was probably Europe, Germany. There, we lived in Heidelberg and Ansbach, and we were just able to do a lot of traveling with the family and stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun, a lot of cultural things.
Absolutely. That leads me to my next question. What's the most unique place on earth you've ever visited?
Oof. You know what? I'm gonna say Alaska.
And why Alaska?
Well, I was able to travel with my job to a lot of different places up there. Shishmaref was out on the Arctic, or on the western coast of Alaska. And I can't remember the other town up there that we went to, but it was just Alaska natives that were living on the edge of the continent, right, and looking directly into Russian waters. So we flew up there, and they had some coastal erosion type stuff that we were doing, and that was pretty unique and desolate.
Yeah, so my wife and I talk about, we take cruises, so we want to take an Alaskan cruise and go up and see, the ice and see all that beautifulness up there. I love Vancouver. I was up in Vancouver for a little while, but appreciate that answer. What is the military habit that you formed throughout your many years in the military that you keep until this day?
Oh boy, I don't know. I like to say getting up in the morning, but I don't always get up in the morning. I do now, but there's a time where I just like to sleep. Um, Boy, I don't know. I think probably just getting your gear ready for the next day. Probably before I go to bed, I set all my stuff out. I make sure, like now, I get all my food all ready to go in the refrigerator or whatever, and so I can pack it real quick and get my clothes laid out, and I back my truck into the driveway so I can just go.
Very nice. I like it. All right. I'm not going to ask you the music question, but I'm going to ask you, who's the greatest football player of all time?
Wow. Probably, I've never seen him play. The thing that popped in my head first off was Jim Brown, just because that's what my dad and all my family members talked about growing up. As he was just the man. But probably none of us listening on this podcast have ever seen him play, or maybe not even know his name. So other than that, geez, let's just, I hate to say this, I really do. I'm sure I'll get some enemies by either saying it or not saying it. But Tom Brady is, I don't like him, but he is one hell of he's shown his leadership, and he's won 7 Super Bowls. So I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will hate that answer, but
I know. I don't like it either.
Who can argue? Who can argue?
Okay, then let's say Peyton Manning. Yeah, I mean, he's a Tennessee guy, right?
There you go.
We'll say Peyton Manning.
No. I mean, Tom Brady. A lot of people do think he's the greatest, but like,
I don't like him. But
there you go.
That's right.
So, as a installation commander, a master planner, someone that actually plans cities, podcast.
Oh wow. Well, I tell you, like I told you earlier, I've watched quite a few of these on my drive in to work and everything, and you guys do a fantastic job, and the service that you provide us, I think, is just unbelievable, and much needed and much appreciated. I don't know. You have a lot of great guests. When you ask me to do this, I'm like, why do you want to talk to me? I'm nobody. But I think. I don't like talking about myself, but you have people who are, regular people doing unbelievable things, and you wouldn't know it by looking at them, or you know what I mean. Just when you meet people, you gotta pull that story out of them, right? And you have some fantastic guests here, and you really learn a lot, and you just really realize the community that's out there, and the good-hearted people that are out there as well. So I think I don't know what you can improve on, honestly.
And that's the best answer I've heard. Don't know what I can improve on. So, okay, bonus question for the hot seat. Who is the best 25 uniform in your illustrious career that ever served under you?
What was that? The best 25. Oh,
who is the best 25 uniform?
I thought you were talking about football for a minute. Well, it's got to be Utah for sure. Absolutely.
Thank you. It's the first time I've ever asked that question. And you said you don't know why I wanted to have you on the show, because we've had General Petraeus on, we've had Sergeant Majors of the Army, and it's been wonderful. But like the things that mean a lot were the reason I wanted to have you on, sir, is because the dichotomy of soldiers, officers, NCOs. I had never been friends with officers, and I'm very tight with Sudik still, Zutu. Sudik lives here in Houston. So, he came up and before my wife bought one of those supercars, she bought one of those X5 in competitions. He came up and gave her a ride in his R8 or R. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And so he's right here. So that group of officers kind of talk about, I'm getting ready to let you go, but talk about the bond maybe that you experienced at White Sands with those officers, or that you saw at least, because we had nobody else other to rely on. So that's why I remember you, because you just let us do our shit, and I appreciated that. There was very prudent leadership. I knew what the hell was going on. I knew which tower to look at for what. Vail was going to do everything in the S3 and operationally, and just administratively, we accomplished so much. And we did that as a battalion. You kept saying team, 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 but you had multiple commands. You were an installation commander. You're a master planner now. You literally plan cities. That is mesmerizing to me because my brain doesn't think like that. That's why you're on the show, sir, because you're pretty phenomenal. I appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks so much.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Christopher Benson, we appreciate you being on the show, and we'll talk to you again soon. Stay on. We're going to get off real quick. I want to talk to you real quick as soon as we hop off here, if you don't mind. You got a few minutes? You can't hear me again. That's all good.
I guess that's a no.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know what's been going on lately with that. I don't know if it's my fault or not. I may have to do some reading.
No, I think it's got to be something to do with cell phones, bro. It's got to be something like with maybe the link or how this. I don't know. I'm not a techie guy, but it's got to be cell phones, bro. Yeah,
there he is. He's popped back. I was gonna say, stay on there real quick, sir. I want to talk to you after we pop off. We're gonna get off here in just a second.
Okay.
All right. Probably as soon as we get off, he won't be able to hear again, but we'll figure it out. So in sports, Matt Johnson wanted me to make sure I told Ryan Mill that his stuff is out. He's going to get the swag, the hat, the T-shirt, and one of the sweatshirts, I think. Future guests next week, we have Matt Jablonski, Air Force veteran, mortgage loan officer, the mastermind behind Project 87 with Cross Country Mortgage. Essentially, 87% of the people that have access to the VA home loan, the best tool that you can have for purchasing power when you're going to make the biggest purchase of your life, which is a home. 87% of people that have access to it don't use it. There's only 13% of people that are using it. So he's going to come on and kind of talk about how Cross Country Mortgage is going to enable veterans and active duty service members to use their VA loan to purchase a home. That should be a lot of fun. Or it could be boring.
So I don't know. We'll see.
You're like nerd.
All I heard was nerd. But I want to shout out to a guy who's in I can't see the comments, but he did comment, a guy named Brad Williams. Can you see Brad's comment, Ty?
Let me see. Brad Williams. Yep, got it.
Want to shout out Brad. I actually met him here tonight when I was down there having dinner at the hotel bar. He's an Army officer. Pretty cool story. Served in Korea, served in Syria, did some pretty cool stuff. Actually works for an all-veteran company, and the name Green Castle, I think, is the name of the company. They're a 100% veteran company, and I want to go work for them. They do like different types of contracts. I don't really know. They do a lot of cool shit, but like,
is it Blue Babe?
No, it's Green Castle. I think it's Green.
Oh, he
Castle.
says Blue Babe vet checking in. Thanks for your service, sir.
Yeah, he's awesome. I met him, and like I said, I'm trying to get him on the show, but his company is crazy. He was like, they have like a golf simulator. They have their own. The company has a podcast, and I'll get the name to you, Ty. It's like shots of something in Winchester, where like their bar in the bar that they own inside of their company is called the Winchester. So they do a veteran podcast. Pretty neat stuff too. So love to get him on and hear his story. He's got a pretty cool story. He was
what you have for dinner tonight? That dinner's talking to you right now.
Yeah, bro. I got hiccups. I'm trying to keep hiccuping on the show. I'm like holding my breath and swallowing my breath. Like, it sucks, dude. I had a rough night, man. My phone died, so I run downstairs. I'm texting you. I run downstairs to get my charger out of the car. It's not there, so then I go to the front counter. I use their little ghetto charger. That shit's not. It's barely charging. So then I'm like, shit. So then I haul ass to Target up the street, buy a charger, haul ass back to get back on the show. I'm like, man, it's been one of those days.
Yeah. Well, that's all cool. Well, hey, Matt's not here. He's out with the family having a lot of fun. So appreciate you, Matt. We'll see you next week. Al, you want to take us out?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, we say it every week, but I definitely want to tell everybody that we truly, and it's heartfelt, that we appreciate you guys coming on every week, following and listening to our podcast. Our mission is simple. We're out here to help veterans and do great things for the veteran community, to help strengthen the tribe and just build community within our veteran ranks. Also, I mean, we love our active duty service members as well, but we want to build our strength and strengthen our ranks within the veteran community. So we have a strong mission, and we have a heart for the veteran community, and we want to truly thank you for coming out. We'll be back here next week, same time, same bat time, same bat channel, doing big stuff. Make sure you go in and like, follow, subscribe. We're no longer on Facebook, like Ty always says. We're strictly on YouTube, so please go on YouTube, like, follow, subscribe to our channel, and check us out, right? If you're a doubter, you're out there like, I don't really know, just another podcast. We're the greatest of all time. We're the GOAT of the veteran podcast world. Yeah, I said it. And if you don't like it, David, come see me, bro. But at the end of the day, we love this community, and we're here to help in any way we can. So if you got some issues, or you want to talk about it, or you need something, you just need somebody to vent to, reach out to us. Ty puts our email up on the screen all the time. Reach out to our podcast. If you'd like to be a guest and you want to come on the show, tell your story, we'd love to have you. Reach out to the podcast. We'll get you on the show. We'd love to tell your story. And then last but not least for me is make sure you reach out to a friend, a colleague, a brother, somebody you serve with this week, and tell them you're thinking about them. Tell them you love them. I had a brother of mine who reached back out to me. It's been probably, no lie, a year and a half. I've been texting. He was going through a dark patch and a rough time, and he finally responded back. And I'm glad he did. I'm going to reach back out to him and continue to stay on his mind and make sure he knows he's in my heart. But make sure you're reaching out to somebody and just telling somebody in the I don't care if you're active duty or veteran, but tell somebody you love them and you're thinking about them, and just get in your phone and pick a number, pick a name, and reach out to somebody this week. I challenge you to do that. We don't just say that, we do that weekly. We check on each other. We check on our brothers and our sisters that we serve with in our community to make sure that we don't lose another service member to veteran suicide. So make sure you're checking. If a name popped in your head just now, and you're like, damn, I ain't talked to whoever in a long time, reach out to them. But thank you again for tuning in. Thanks for coming on. Thank you to our guest. He's awesome. But thank you for tuning in. We love you guys. We'll see you next week. Ty, you got it.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Captain Brian, former guest. Probably put him up next week, get him to do some videos for us. But yeah, bold move. We are the best. We think we tell the stories with the best of them. But hey, like I said, we're here every Thursday. We tell stories. We love catching up with people we served with, but we also want to hear from you as well. If you want to be on the show, be sure to like, subscribe on our YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok channels. We're here every Thursday. And for Al Hero, for Matt Johnson, I'm Ty Cobb. We will see you next week.
If you or someone you know is in crisis, contact the Veterans Crisis Line at 1-800-273-8255. Then press 1.